On the docket for today's show, I put together the Warriors' perfect offseason plan so that Golden State can get back to championship contention. A lot to talk about there, but first, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We are approaching 60,000 subscribers as one of the most watched and largest Warriors channels on all of YouTube. There are so many options out there, so we really do appreciate that you make us the go-to spot, and this is why you have to subscribe to the show. We give you year-round Dubs coverage with multiple videos every single week. Our NBA draft analysis is something that I take a lot of pride in. NBA free agency is coming up right after the NBA draft in just a couple of weeks. Whatever moves the Warriors make, we're going to cover them from a breaking news standpoint, but when there's buzz out there, we'll also discuss that as well. Some of our watch parties for the second-round series against the Los Angeles Lakers, some of the most watched videos in the history of our Chat Sports company, and we want to start doing some more live shows as well. How do we do that? More subscribers, more opportunities like that. So without further ado, I'm Shea Sr. This is Warriors Today. Thank you so much for being here once again. Let's take a look at my perfect Warriors offseason plan. A lot of question marks during this pivotal offseason. And coming up at number one, Warriors have to figure out who their new general manager is going to be. Bob Myers' contract expires at the end of this month. He is not going to be leading the draft for Golden State, which is less than 2 weeks away. Two names right now are the names who figure to be replacements for Bob Myers, either Mike Dunleavy Jr. or Kirk Lacob. And one of them could be general manager, one of them could be the president, if one of them isn't named to both, like what Bob Myers was as he held that post for nearly the last decade. So I do think that both of these guys are going to be a part of the construct of this front office, and whoever comes in here certainly has big shoes to fill for Bob Myers, who will go down as one of the best NBA executives in the history of the game. 4 championships over the last 9 years. He put good complementary pieces around Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. While he didn't draft those two guys, he did draft Draymond Green. He hired Steve Kerr. He brought in Kevin Durant during NBA free agency. The trade for Andre Iguodala was massive as a great two-way player who won the NBA Finals MVP. Big shoes to fill for the next Warriors general manager because Bob Myers did a whale of a job. The Warriors also must get better defensively, especially on the road. This was so uncharacteristic of Golden State this past year because in previous seasons, they have been a good defensive team. And last year, they were an excellent defensive squad. They had Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, who all played well on the defensive end of the floor. But there was a little bit of a drop back for them individually, but from a team standpoint as well. And the Warriors' road defense was absolutely awful. We saw that really get blown in during that Game 6 loss against the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, you think about this roster right now. Andrew Wiggins, hopefully Draymond Green comes back, Klay Thompson, Gary Payton II. Does a full season of them together allow the Dubs to be a better defensive team, or do they have to make moves in free agency? I think that they could sign like a Patrick Beverley type of player to help improve their guard defense because you can't rely on just offensive basketball alone because the Warriors lacked athleticism and a scoring punch consistently against the Lakers in that second-round defeat. You have to be a more well-rounded team to win an NBA championship, especially when you look at a team like the Denver Nuggets, who figures to be really good for the next couple of years, and I'm not sure the Warriors would be able to keep up with that Nuggets offense. The new general manager and president of basketball operations, it is wise for them to at least explore trades of Jonathan Kuminga and Jordan Poole. I don't hate the idea of both of them coming back, and maybe the Warriors can get better defensively if Jonathan Kuminga is able to get more playing time and take that next step. I have to give credit to Jonathan Kuminga. It looks as though he's been in the lab. He's been putting in a lot of work, and because of that, hopefully his game improves. And maybe that's a reason for how the Warriors are able to improve on the defensive end of the floor because the potential and the athleticism is there for Jonathan Kuminga. These are the conversations that this front office, as well as Joe Lacob and Steve Kerr, need to have. Jordan Poole isn't going to give you any defense, right? He's bad on that end, but he's durable. He's a good offensive player. See what you can at least get back for Kuminga and Poole, because if you get blown away by an offer that makes you a better team next year and for the foreseeable future, allowing you to win an NBA championship, this is what good businesses do. They always look ahead, looking for ways to improve. Maybe they explore that. And Kuminga wants out, if not given a bigger role. So do you want to give him a bigger role? Because you can improve defensively if you give him more playing time. If not, though, it's a waste to not trade him and get nothing back. Now, I do want to challenge you with this question here. If you had to pick one to keep, one player to keep, who would it be? JP for Jordan Poole, JK for Jonathan Kuminga. Also, this note, I think is important for this squad as we project into the future. Do you let youth develop or do you get veterans? And it kind of goes back to some of the points that I made previously about Kuminga and Poole. Do you want to bring in vets in here to further allow you to compete for a championship, knowing that Klay Thompson's going into the final year of his deal? Steph Curry is 35 years old. Or do you let this youth develop to give you some of that athleticism that you were lacking against Los Angeles? Because if you keep the youth, it'll be a new makeup of this team, or the vets can also change the identity of this squad as well. These decisions need to be made soon. The NBA draft is coming up in 2 Thursdays, and then free agency is right after that, right before July 4th. So that's why we're putting together our Warriors perfect offseason plan. If you want the perfect sports book, it is BetUS, and they have the perfect deal for all of you. 125% deposit bonus if you head to chatsports.com/bet. Promo code chat125. You put in $100, you get $125 back. If you're catching this prior to Game 4 of the NBA Finals, the Nuggets 3.5-point favorites on the road once again. The line closed at 3.5. For Denver for Game 3 as well, and then the over-under set for 211. These games have been low scoring. That's why that number is a little bit lower. Let's move forward here. The Dubs need to fortify their front court depth. I thought it was a massive, massive issue that Kevon Looney was the only true center against a Lakers team that had the Warriors beat out as far as their size goes. And there are some free agency options that we can talk about in that front court. Kevon Looney isn't going to completely cut it by himself. And we saw that Golden State even sat him for a couple of games as a starter for Jermichael Green to just give them a different look offensively than they had Gary Payton II with Draymond Green starting at that 5 spot. I love Kevon Looney as a glue guy, but can he be your night-in, night-out center when there are more athletic centers across the NBA? Free agent centers this year in free agency: Nikola Vucevic, Christian Wood, Brook Lopez, Jakob Poeltl, and Naz Reid. I think Reid could come on a discount. Poeltl is an intriguing option as a guy who's just a smart and heady player. Brook Lopez, excellent defender and can shoot, which intrigues me. Christian Wood has been a disaster culturally wherever he goes. And Vucevic, I'm kind of split on him. For Draymond Green, what happens with his player option? Steve Kerr and Draymond have had their disagreements, but they appreciate one another, and they're both critical to the Warriors' success of winning the 4 titles over the last 9 years. Does he opt into his player option? Does he opt out, then become a free agent? Does he sign a long-term deal? This is a difficult business decision to make, and I'm not sure Bob Myers left because he didn't want to have to be the guy to break up this threesome of Green, Klay, and Steph. But that's a decision that the Warriors' new front office is going to have to think about because Draymond's getting a little bit older. He still played very, very well this past year. He's still a very good defender. 8.5, nearly 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 53% on his field goals. From a championship identity point of view, he does have that dog mentality, which I do believe that you need. And Draymond Green has been a Warriors staple. For Steve Kerr to say, we're not a contender next year without Draymond Green is telling. Now, it's also Steve Kerr's final year of his contract. So does he have a lot to say about what this Warriors team is going to look like a few years down the road? What is the Warriors' biggest need? What is it? You tell me. I think it's defense, and I think it's getting a little bit more athletic and giving Steph Curry some help. For Steve Kerr, Klay Thompson, final year of their deal. So do you make decisions on both of them this offseason? And if you want to keep Steve Kerr, do you let Klay Thompson go, who's shown some signs of decline? Is this the end of this Warriors run? Is this the end of this Warriors dynasty? I imagine you have to keep Kerr. And if Steve Kerr wants to continue coaching, and that could be up in the air now that Bob Myers is gone, he's already won 4 rings, in his career as an executive, as a player with the Bulls, Spurs, and now a coach with the Warriors. He has 9 to 11 titles or whatever it is. If he wants to continue coaching, bring him back, that would be wise. For Klay Thompson, certainly better this past year than he was in 2021, 2022. And he even said after the year, look, I struggled in this Lakers series, and I was abysmal pretty much. At least those are my opinions on it. He did admit that he was bad. That was the first offseason where he didn't have to rehab, and he played 69 games, 22 points per game. He still shot 41% from 3, but in the playoffs, it looked as though he wore down a little bit. Can he increase that stamina with another healthy offseason? That's a big question mark for Klay Thompson for this basketball team, because when Steph and Klay are firing and they're hitting shots, they're certainly different than when they are when only Steph Curry is going and Klay Thompson gives you a dud performance. Keep Klay for the long haul. Be honest. Why for yes and for no? Him and Steph, the best shooting backcourt of all time, and a legendary figure. So, really, you look at the Warriors' perfect offseason plan here. Figure out who the next general manager is. Have to get better defensively. Is that in free agency? You also have a pick in the high teens. Do you address it there? Can that player play? Do you trade that for a player and a veteran? Do you make a move like a Patrick Beverley? Do you play Jonathan Kuminga a little bit more? Explore the traits of Kuminga and Poole. You'd be doing yourself a disservice. If you get blown away by an offer and you don't take it to improve your basketball club, then that's a mistake. Do you let your youth develop or get veterans? I think it's going to be a combination of both. Fortify that front court depth. Figure out what happens with Draymond Green's player option, as well as the future of him, Steve Kerr, and Klay Thompson. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, the Warriors' perfect offseason plan. Make sure you subscribe to the show. As always, we appreciate all of you for tuning in. Have a phenomenal weekend, and we'll catch you next time here on the show. Keep an eye out for more content coming up this weekend as well.